Welcome to another episode of the Intentional Health for Women podcast. I'm your host, Garrett G. Q. Query, and I'm joined by a good friend and client over the last 6 months, Rachel. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be here.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Rachel flown out for some work, and we are going to get to connect today, sit down, chat, talk a little bit about her health and fitness journey and just share some pieces of her journey that I feel are just going to be so valuable to this audience as it continues to grow. First things first is like, what was your journey like before we met? Like what did, like, let's start at like, I guess like childhood. What was that like for you? I don't even know the answer to this question. Like what was, did your mom have a big influence in that regard? Because that's pretty standard for a lot of women growing up. Mm-hmm. What did that look like?
Absolutely. Childhood for me, I was incredibly active, came from a very loving family. As far as food, exercise, kind of those aspects, I watched my mom and my dad kind of battle with some weight issues back and forth, try some different diets. I was a product of the 80s, so the beginnings of Slim Fast and Weight Watchers and, sugar-free and fat-free and all of the things.
Mm-hmm. Some Atkins in there.
Atkins. We did the Pritikin diet. Not sure if it Pritikin diet.
What is that?
I remember eating a lot of very bland fish, brown rice, and steamed vegetables. Stewed tomatoes as well.
Sounds tasty.
It's delicious. And no salt. So, that was essentially childhood. So I kind of just experienced, I think, what most women my age experienced in childhood. You watched the weight battle. We did a lot with food. We celebrated with food. We were sad with food. We ate all of our emotions in every aspect.
So that's not just the Midwest thing.
No, definitely an East Coast thing too. And I don't think nutrition and food is where it's at today. I don't think the knowledge was as wide and as vast and as easily accessible as we have now. I really didn't start to struggle with weight until freshman and sophomore year of college, did the freshman 15, gained another like 10 sophomore year. And then I went to Weight Watchers for the first time.
Okay. Let's put this into perspective. You're a whopping 5'4".
5'4". Yeah. So
25 pounds in 2 years.
25 pounds in 2 years, went to Weight Watchers. I'm great at losing weight. I did phenomenal because I always played the game of if they gave you a certain number of points, I would always eat right under that certain number of points. And if they gave you weekly points that you could use for special occasions, I never touched those.
Yeah.
So I was great at the restriction and always leaned on cardio, crazy amounts of cardio, 2-3 hours of cardio in the gym during college.
What was your weight walking into college?
Walking into college, I was probably 135.
Okay.
So went up to I was like 160 when I joined Weight Watchers.
Sure.
About 160. I remember they actually tried to turn me away. They were like, you have to be able to lose a certain percentage of your body weight. And I just kept repeating. I was like, let me get on the scale. Give me the opportunity to get on the scale. I promise I have it to lose.
Yeah.
And they did. And I did. And so I lost all of the weight and then some. I got down to like 125. But I never learned maintenance. So restricting stopped working and I started binging and, pizza on the weekends and drive through and chicken nuggets and, all of the junk food that college kids eat. And then graduated and kind of tried to do Weight Watchers on my own, thinking like, oh, I can handle this, and maintained around 150, 145, 150 for a couple of years. Then I started to, just have the same issue. I was binging and restricting and cardio and not cardio and this whole back and forth. And then I started tracking my food, not to the extent that you have me tracking. I was watching protein, fat, and carbs, but no other nutrients. And I did the same thing. I answered all the questions on the app and it was like, well, how much do you want to lose? And, it would say, okay, well, you can eat 1,300 calories. Well, no way. I would take it down to the lowest possible calorie range. Usually it was 1,200. So I would always eat 1,100 calories because if 1,200 will have me losing weight, 1,100 will definitely have me losing more. Which I think this is somewhat normal for women my age. I think this is the average.
I mean, it's not just women your age. Let's slow down for a second, because I think this is super important to touch on, is like that restrict mindset, right? You were really good at losing the weight, but then it got to the point, right, where it's like, okay, you've managed to be ruthless and hit 1,100 calories or whatever point count. Walk me through like the mental state of the weekends, like when you just couldn't seemingly control it. Like, what was that like?
It was just a free for all.
Yeah. And
the second, I'm a very, very much a perfectionist kind of person. I know you're not shocked by that. So the second I would get off track, the second I would eat 1,200 calories, or the second I would have one more point than I was supposed to, then it was just all bets were off. Everything was free game. Yeah. And I could eat, I could drink, I could do whatever I wanted. Yeah. And I would that was the roller coaster, until I met you. Yeah. And now I'm on a normal ride. And it's been smooth sailing, and it's weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's weird.
So, okay, tracking calories. Now it's 1,100 calories.
The worst one I did, I went down to 800 calories a day.
And that was with like a coach, wasn't it?
I found a woman who was local to where I live. And I actually looked recently to see if she's actually still in business. She is. So she started a program that she was basically an accountability coach. Sure. So you would send her your food log every single night. But she had a specific list of foods you could eat, when you could eat them, and what you could eat. And then even if you get to maintenance, you got to add one food item back in every single week. So, but again, it was only off of her list. So there was a very small list of foods, and her big thing was you could eat from the grocery store. Well, yes, it was grocery store food, but I was eating a half a cup of yogurt for breakfast with a half a cup of fruit, a specific fruit. You weren't allowed to have all fruit. You couldn't have bananas. I could have 6 almonds.
Too much carbs.
Too many carbs. I could have 6 almonds. And then I remember and I just went on repeat with this program because I was afraid to try anything different off of her list, because I figured out I'm a volume eater. So I figured out what I could get the most of. Like I ate chicken for 6 months because I knew I got 4 ounces of chicken. Whereas if I had pork or fish or beef, I only got 2 to 3 ounces. So in my mind,
what kind of fish were you eating that you couldn't eat more than 2 to 3 ounces?
Cod. Like it was all white fish, like not salmon. It wasn't anything. It was so restrictive. And I knew at lunch, I would always do 2 hard-boiled eggs, or you could have a whole can of tuna, but it had to be no salt. And you could only use, I don't know if you even know this exists, Morton's light salt. There is a light salt out there. I didn't know that was a thing. So you could only use a 1/4 teaspoon of that.
There's also like sodium
a day.
Free salt. Like it's like fake salt. Fun fact that exists too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ate the same things on repeat for months because I wanted to eat as much as possible. I was starving all the time. And if you were hungry between meals, you could have a half of a Luna bar, but it was only a certain number of flavors. Like I knew the lemon bars were one of them. So I always had Luna lemon bars, a half of one between your breakfast and your lunch. So at 10 a.m. And then at 2 p.m., if you were hungry again, you could have the other half. I did this for months. I dropped the most weight I've ever dropped, but I've sent you a picture of it. I looked ill. I felt ill.
Yeah.
And I was
what did you weigh in that
miserable,
picture?
125. And I was miserable. Like I couldn't, I took my own food to functions. Like I would show up and people would be eating food and they'd be going to, we'd go to a buffet or an event, and I would sit there with my I'd have my 2 little hard-boiled eggs in my sandwich bag and my green pepper and my 2 little rice cakes because I was allowed to have those as well. And I would take, like, I watched everyone else eat all this food and everyone's like, oh, like you can do this. You can not have what you're supposed to have one time. Like it's not going to ruin it. And I was petrified to have anything else.
Yeah.
I was absolutely petrified.
When was that?
2010, 2011. No, I guess it was 2011.
So it's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I fell off and gained probably the most weight. I hit 185 and then dropped again. I went back to her again. You think I'd learned my lesson? I know. It wasn't the greatest moment of my life. I went back to her again.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, and then dropped. I think I hit 150 before I was like, this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
And that was around 2016, I think.
And there was never any exit strategy.
No. You could, once you hit your maintenance goal, then you could add in these one item, off of her list. So like the first week, I remember you got to eat pizza. You could have one slice of pizza, but you had to take away a fat from earlier in the day. So I took away my almonds from the morning. You had to take away one carb. So I took away my 2 rice cakes from lunch, and that was it was just, even her maintenance program wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. Do you remember, do you have any idea how much that like food wise was? Like how many calories?
800 calories.
No, maintenance.
Oh, maintenance. I think the one week of maintenance, I think you got closer to 1,000 to 1,100 calories. But it stayed restricted even all the way to the end because you got to see the rest of the maintenance weeks, what you were adding in. It's still, you were never eating more than 1,200 calories a day, ever.
Solid.
So I made that mistake twice.
Okay. So now, all right, 2016, you're at 150, leave the program. Over the next 7 years, like was it just kind of like a slow burn, slow gain?
Pretty much. I would always, I'd start gaining and then I'd hit like 175, 180. And then I'd kind of panic and be like, okay, I have to do something. And I'd use one of the techniques and crazy restrict. And, I'd get down to 165. Sure. And then I'd just give up because I was living in restriction all the time. Yeah. Like I was trying to live in restriction all the time. And it's just not, I never learned maintenance. I never understood it. And eating even 1,500 calories a day, actively trying to eat that, I would never even imagine doing that. And you have me eating 2,400 calories a day. You had me eating 2,200 calories a day and losing weight.
Yeah.
You're a wizard. You're a wizard. I don't know.
During which time, which mechanistically, I understand, the binge and restrict cycle as far as like what's going on, why this is happening, but somewhere along the line, you start to develop some gut health issues.
So probably I'd say COVID, 2020, when everything was shut down, we were stuck at home. I was drinking more wine than I normally would before. We were just eating a lot more processed foods, and not going anywhere, not doing anything. And I just continued to balloon up at that point. And then I hit a point where I don't want to say I didn't want to do anything, but I had such confidence issues leaving the house that it took such effort to do anything. Yeah. And I just kind of continued to eat garbage. And then that's when I was really having some gut issues. The whole, I guess the holistic side of things, the functional nutritionist, functional medicine has kind of gained more popularity thanks to social media. So I had started to work with a functional nutritionist prior to working with you to work on some of that gut healing. And I'm grateful for it, but she's not doing the same work that you are. Yeah. They did labs, they did that, but it was more of just a supplement protocol. It wasn't really working on the nutrition. So while my gut health healed somewhat, the only nutrition information was, well, just eat whole foods. Yeah. Okay. But like how much when, to what degree, so I didn't really lose any weight with her. I did heal some of the gut issues, and then came to you. I actually came to you with gut issues healed, but hormone issues still kind of messed up. Like she had done some work to start that process, but the hormone issues have really completely healed since working with you.
Yeah, 100%. And this isn't to knock that practitioner at all. It's just like people travel down these paths and a lot of times they don't know what they don't know, right? Like it's the same conversation that I have to have a lot with people when I educate clients to be able to advocate for their health when it comes to like Western medicine practitioners, seeking out referrals or realizing when it's time to cut ties and find a different practitioner to advocate for your health in that way. And it's, the previous practitioner that you worked with did a great job, right? Did a great job of working on the thing that they are an expert at and guided that 100%. Like,
I think one of the things that I really appreciated the most in finding you is the amount of education that you have continued to go after. And the fact that you've continued to just learn as much as you can and make sure that you have the knowledge or at least have a network of people who can assist you. And that was what was most appealing to me because she had some knowledge, but I think it was just she had gotten what she needed to get. And then that was basically it. So I knew I needed more and I knew I wanted more. Yeah.
How did you find me again?
I found you through another podcast that I was listening to. And your story it completely resonated with me. Here was somebody who understood what it was to be overweight and to lose that weight and make that mindset change and that complete life shift. So I had started following you on Instagram and then you slid into my DMs and started calling me out, to be completely honest. You saw through my BS.
Yeah.
So I had just kind of reached out. You were like, thanks for the follow. And I had asked you if you did coaching online or in person. And, you just kind of immediately were like, well, what are you looking for? Like, what are you being intentional about? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I really appreciated that. It made me face up and say like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think I actually just picked up a new client today from the same exact podcast. It was funny. I asked her on the consult. I was like, because it was Beth and Matt's podcast.
Yes.
Me. Yeah, right.
Yeah, cut the crap.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to them. Beth and Matt are amazing people. Yeah. Amazing human beings. So what was so all right, we've worked all the way through childhood, Weight Watchers,
weird
800. Crazy 800 calorie diet. What was your initial thoughts, right? Like when I originally sent the plan and I was like, I'm pretty sure it was like 1800 calories. Like we started at.
You started me at 1920.
Okay.
And I thought you were nuts. I immediately doubted and regretted. I had buyer's remorse. I was like, I just signed up with this guy and now this isn't going to work.
Right. I'm going to get fat.
I'm going to get fat. I'm going to gain more weight. I'm already heavy enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to gain any more weight. Complete doubt. And then the first week I dropped 5 pounds.
Yep.
And then the second week I dropped 3 pounds and it just kept coming off. And then you increased me because you're like, well, we're trying to find maintenance. And I'm like, no, dude, I want to lose weight. And then you called me out on that as well. And you're like, well, if I check your weekly check-ins, you are losing weight. And I was like, okay, you're right. So I think you even took me up during that initial maintenance phase. You had me up to 2,000 to 2,100 calories. And you're like, we're just doing maintenance right now. That's it. And the weight just kept coming off.
Yep.
And then you threatened me and you're like, we're going to go into a cut in July. And I was like, I've done Restrict. I can do this. I know what I'm doing. And at one point you text me and you're like, you're going to hate me for this cut. And I'm like, okay. And then you sent me the cut plan and you had me eating 1,800 calories.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, at this point, I'm down, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 pounds. And I'm like, all right, I guess I just trust you. I'm like, you're doing something.
Yeah.
It's working.
To like put that into perspective, right, is, 1,900 calories, weight's coming off, 2,100 calories, weight's coming off. And like, as from a coach perspective, to put that into perspective is like, the original goal was, let's find maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very clear that maintenance for you was going to be upwards of 2,400 calories before we found that stopping point. And your body was responding so well and your biofeedback was so good. Mm-hmm. It was just so easy to make the decision to just continue a cut. I think that's something that a lot of, especially women, can really get discouraged with, is like, with finding maintenance, like maybe the scale bumps up a little bit, mm-hmm. or it's staying the same, and they don't understand like what's happening internally. Clothes are actually fitting better. Pictures are looking better. You're sleeping better, moving better, stronger, etc. Right. And so to put what Rachel just kind of walked you through from a coach's eye, it was like, oh, okay, like her body is really actually ready for a cut. We're not seeing any negative feedback. We did lab work. Biofeedback is there. So we just shipped it and we started cranking and we just got the weight off. And I don't think I pulled you below 1,800. I think it just kept chipping away.
Yeah. You kept me at 1,800 and I was consistently losing like a pound to a pound and a half a week. I never hit a plateau. And just on the biofeedback, I couldn't believe how well my body was responding from being fueled. Like the hormone symptoms gone, didn't have anything. Had a pinch towards the end of the cut, but I was also increasing training at that point. So to be expected. But I didn't realize how much I was straining my body and stressing my body by what I've done for the last 20 years, by eating such low calorie diets, and now actually fueling my body, how much it responded. My sleep has been phenomenal. No brain fog, no stomach issues, no hormone issues. Like the list just goes on. And even now in maintenance, we've hit goal. I went through my closet before I flew out here trying to find additional clothes to wear because what I wore this past summer doesn't fit me and your weather is much warmer than mine. Mm-hmm. And I had things tucked away that I was like, oh, well, someday I'll fit back in these clothes. And I put them on and they don't fit.
Yeah.
I'm not the same weight that I was then. I actually physically weigh more, but my body composition has changed so drastically that those clothes don't fit. They look like I'm wearing 3 sizes too big. And they're just literally falling off. I couldn't find work pants for this week because nothing fits from work at all.
Yeah. So talk about hormones. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what is like, is it like you're just noticing from like a menstrual cycle perspective?
So primarily menstrual cycle. I was having a lot of issues prior to working with you. And I don't even know that you and I went down this path. I don't even know that you know this. So prior to working with you, 3 weeks out of the month, I was essentially in pain. I was having issues. I was having cysts rupture, having issues with fibroids, to the point that my OBGYN gave me the option to go on a medication that I could only take for 6 months that would help relieve the pain, but it caused bone loss.
Yeah,
or I could get a hysterectomy.
Someone recently told me about that medication. Who was I talking? I went in for my yearly physical. And this year it was a different provider. She started asking me what I do, talked about what I do. and she asked me like what was my thoughts around like menstrual cycles, menstrual cycle pains, and she talked about that medication.
Mm-hmm.
And my first response to her was, okay, well, what does lifestyle look like? What does nutrition look like? Like, how much are they eating? And so much things. And this isn't a knock on the provider at all.
Again,
from a Western medicine perspective, a lot of times they don't have the time, right? Like she came in and did my physical. I was in and out of that office in 20 minutes, right? And so she was really curious like about my thoughts around this stuff. And it's, like unfortunately, those are the options that they have available because they don't have the time or oftentimes for them, the education around nutrition, training, movement, sunlight, any of that stuff, unless they seek it out outside of that. And then the ability to apply it, like they don't necessarily have the time to sit in the office for an hour. And even then, we've interacted far more than an hour worth of time, right? It takes a lot more.
So the options were that medication or a hysterectomy. And I mean, at 40, do I think I'm going to have children? Probably not. I would, but I don't want that option taken away from me. I have 3 beautiful stepchildren and I'm beyond blessed and grateful to have them, but I would still love the opportunity to have one of my own. 100%. So I didn't want that taken, so that was really the additional reason why I wanted to seek you out. Like, and I knew I needed assistance with more than just supplements and more than just a protocol.
Obviously I had built up a lot of trust.
Yes.
But 2,400 calories.
I think you're full of crap. I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't. I literally, I know my husband, I know my kids, I know my coworkers, my family. They're all so tired of hearing me at the end of the day going, I still have so much food to eat. Like what I eat at breakfast is what I used to eat on that one diet. Like I eat 600 to 800 calories for breakfast. I am regularly like, I just can't believe it. I can't believe the amount of food I'm eating, the amount of carbs I'm eating with nothing off limits.
No.
And
to be fair, to put something that I do want to like kind of quotation and caveat, we are prepping Rachel for an ultra marathon in May. So while I definitely believe that women are extremely strong, powerful, and can eat way more than they believe that they can, I do want to kind of put a disclaimer of like, I have had the fortunate opportunity to coach a handful of endurance athletes, and the fuel that we need to utilize to support that level of output is massive.
But even to counter that to some degree, when you and I first started, I wasn't even running yet at that point.
No.
You didn't even push me. You asked me for a goal initially, and I gave you some BS like, I want to have balance between my weight and strength training and food and understand. And you called me out. You were like, nope, I want something bigger. Like, give me something good. And so, I mean, it was 5 or 6 weeks before I really started training. And even then I was going couch to ultra marathon. Like I was doing nothing prior to working with you.
Right.
No running, no nothing. So, even eating 2,100 calories, 1,800 calories, 1,900 calories, all of those different ranges prior to training, women are vastly underfueled.
Yes.
I cannot, like, now that I'm in it and now that I've experienced it, I can't say it enough.
100%. Walk me through, so maintenance calories, the 18, the 19, the 2,100. What does that talk about to the female audience that is in that binge and restrict cycle? What does that look like for you to be able to walk into a weekend, not starving, but also having the ability to fit some pizza? Date night? In.
It's such an emotional piece because I think I spent so many years so focused on food in such a negative way and panicking and trying to plan. And now I go into the weekend and I'm full. I'm full all the time. I don't feel the need to binge. I don't even have time to binge because I'm trying to eat all of these calories. Like I can't even find the time to sit down and say like, oh, I'm just going to eat this because I'm like, no, I still have all of this food to eat.
Yeah.
So it's been a life-changing experience in 6 months. And I don't know how else to say it. It's life-changing. I don't have the same issues that I had before, and I have such confidence. And I would never say that I was depressed before necessarily, but like I have such a new level of joy and happiness because I'm fueled. I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
Like I don't think people realize how miserable they are when they're just hungry.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
And I feel like it goes so much deeper than just hunger, right? Like there's so much more attached to underfueling. Like it's not just hunger. It's like you said, like, do I want to say that I was depressed?
Yeah.
But I didn't feel good.
I didn't feel great. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel great now all the time.
Increasing to 2,400 and we dropped another 3 pounds.
Yes.
What is that? How's that feeling? How's that working out?
I came home from a week of vacation. I have never come home from vacation losing weight.
Yeah.
I ate. We ate out. Yes, I walked more, but we ate out. I ate foods that I don't normally eat at home. I had to find some different options and I still lost weight. I know even this trip, I'm probably down.
Oh yeah.
I'm probably down.
Yep.
I can feel it in the clothes that I tried on before I left.
Traveling typically for those of us who are monitoring our nutrition, etc. We get busy, we get moving, we're doing things, we're having experiences, right? We end up under eating.
Yeah.
Comparatively speaking.
And I still feel full.
Yeah. Yep. How has this impacted your family life?
Besides me driving them crazy, in a really good way. I think I'm most excited because I've been sharing so much of this, especially with my oldest daughter. She is 23, and being able to share with her like how much she should be eating and telling her like, stop trying to eat such a small amount of food, and watching her go to the gym on a regular basis and lift heavy weights and actually fuel her body. I feel like I'm helping change her narrative. I don't want her to have the same hormonal issues that I had. No, she doesn't have my DNA, but she's a woman. Yep. I don't want her to have the same issues that I had. I don't want her to have those problems. So for her, it's really, I've seen a huge shift in her, and she's seen incredible results as well. And is just as like, how am I eating this much food and seeing results? I think my confidence level has gone through the roof, which I think bleeds through to the entire family. You have said it 1,000 times over. You have to be able to pour from a full cup. Yep. And working with you, fueling myself, exercising again, lifting regularly has given me that confidence to be able to pour from a full cup. I'm able to give to my family the way I want to. I'm able to be on site, working with my husband and picking up a 50-pound box or picking up 2 solar panels that weigh 50 some pounds that are taller than me. So being able to do all of those things without even a question. Whereas a year ago I was at that point where I was like, oh, I'm 39. Like I should probably start being careful. I don't want to get hurt, and I know it seems crazy, but that's where my head was. I had just given up. Like it was just like, oh, well, this is the weight I'm going to be. This is the way life is going to be. I'm tired of binge and restrict. Yeah. I share I share you with all of my friends. I share all of this information with all my friends. I'm like, you're not eating enough. All of my girlfriends, we go on backpacking trips. They're probably sick of hearing me say, how am I going to eat all this food? I have to carry extra food when I backpack because I need more fuel.
Yep.
But it's also changed, my brother. I know you primarily work with women, and I had asked if you would consider working with my brother. And it's been an honor to see how much of a change you've made in his life.
Yeah. Because I think last I've known
I think he's down
38 pounds.
Yeah, just about 40 pounds.
Yep.
So that's been an absolute joy to watch as well. But I think even personally, the confidence and the strength that I have now, I've never had that before. Maybe when I was a little kid and just oblivious and, before adulthood kicks in. Mm-hmm. But I just have such a confidence now. It's changed everything for me.
So the time that you spend running, training, mm-hmm. getting your food ready, it's not negatively impacting your career, your family life.
No. And I don't want to say my career is demanding. I'm excited. I'm working for for a company that's growing very rapidly. But I have an hour commute. So I work a 9 to 5, but I have to leave the house an hour plus to get to work on time. And I have an hour to an hour and a half drive home. So, having to add in training and meal prep and just figuring out what I'm going to eat and the grocery shopping, I've been focused on my schedule.
Yep.
And I know the magic question that you are going to eventually ask me, and I'll save some of that for then.
Something that I've experienced along the way in my own journey when focusing on these things is it tends to cut out a lot of the noise. And what I mean by noise is the meaningless, monotonous things that we claim that we are so busy with.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It eliminates it.
Can you ask me now what I'm being intentional about?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're getting there. We're getting there. It eliminates so much the noise. And the reason that I'm circling back on this and what you just said is realistically, you're quote unquote working 11 hours a day
mm-hmm.
plus.
Yep.
You have a family of 3.
Yep.
You have a husband.
Yep.
You're part of a massively growing company that
mm-hmm.
you and your husband owned. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They purchased our company.
Yep.
Yeah.
They purchased your company. You're now involved in
mm-hmm.
the growth of
mm-hmm.
the company.
Mm-hmm.
You still manage to plan your meals.
Mm-hmm.
You're pouring from a full cup into your family.
Mm-hmm.
It eliminates exactly like I said, and I'd love to hear your perspective because I think you understand what I'm getting at is it eliminates the noise. It eliminates any excess, things that aren't serving you.
Yes. 100%. It's having to schedule the way that I'm scheduling and the way that I have to plan it's removed all of the crap. It's removed the time of just sitting and scrolling or aimlessly roaming around the house thinking I should do this, I should do this, I should do this, or maybe I'll go do that. Now it's, nope, I have to go do this. That's when I have to do it. It's offered me such a discipline, but has allowed me to even schedule downtime so that I know this is the time that I spend with my family. This is the time that I spend reading or just sitting. I spend time scrolling, but I mm-hmm. pick those times and I set a schedule for them.
And how much better does that feel?
It feels amazing. I feel like I'm living with purpose. I feel like I'm living intentionally.
Yeah. You don't have the depression, the anxiety, mm-hmm. oh my God, all these things are piling up.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's just kind of, it's on autopilot now. It's all moving. I have my schedule. I know when things are happening, and I have that planned free time as well, so that if something does come up, I have the freedom and the ability to do it.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. When you first like found me, found the episode, found the content, for those listeners that maybe have done the same, what was your thoughts? Were you intrigued? Were you wanting to reach out? Didn't know how? What did that piece look like for you?
I was intrigued, but I was still in the mindset that I could do it on my own. So I was like, well, I'll follow Coach GQ. I'll follow Beth. I'll follow Matt. I'll start following these people who I feel like align with the way that I want to be living.
Yep.
But I'm not actually going to do anything with any of them. So I didn't actually have any intention of working with you. It was when you reached out and kind of called out my crap that I was like, there were two sides of me. The one side that's very comfortable and very just, this is the way it is. You're 40. This is what it's going to be. You can do this on your own. You've done it before. This time will be different. Just do it on your own. And then there was the other side of me that was like, knock it off. You need help. Mm-hmm. You need to reach out to someone who has more knowledge than you, who has been successful with this, who has worked with other women, and who has been in the functional and holistic nutrition side of things and in that space.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted more, but it really was. I was divided in my own head. And it really wasn't until you called me out and continued to ask me, what are you intentional about? What did you take from this podcast? What are you going to do with it? I was like, okay, this is my coach. This is my guy.
If someone's on the fence, what would you say to that person, as far as reaching out?
I would say to at least have a call with you. I think that was one of the things, we had talked through Instagram, but it wasn't until you and I sat down on a 30-minute Zoom call, just, and just chatted. Yeah. You told me a little bit more of your background, and you just asked me a lot of questions. And honestly, I knew that call was going to help me figure out whether or not you and I would be a good fit.
Yeah.
So I think any woman sitting in my shoes 6 months ago, I would say at least start with a call. Definitely a follow, but start with a call and see where it goes from there. Mm-hmm. I can tell you right now, I want every woman from 35 to 55 to work with you.
Yeah.
Because we've all been a product of the Slim Fasts and the Weight Watchers and the Atkins diet and every other one under the sun.
Yeah.
This is truly sustainable. And this is truly making a difference in not only the way I look, but physically inside. My labs have improved. Everything's improved. My biofeedback, like you said, my hormones, my menstrual cycle, my sleep, all of it has improved.
100%.
So I want all of them to work with you. I don't know why they're waiting.
Thank you. With that being said, we have reached that point, right, in the episode. And this is a ongoing question now for all guests is, as we sit in this season of your life, how are you choosing to live intentionally?
Through my schedule. That has been the biggest thing that has changed. It's allowed me to be intentional in the rest of my life. Yeah. By being intentional in my schedule, by putting in my non-negotiables, my faith, my family, my career, then my training and what I need for that has given me so much more freedom to be intentional with my family, to be intentional with my faith, to be intentional with my career. This is the time I'm working on this. That's what the focus is on. But then it also gives me the freedom to have downtime, to know that I have an hour, 2, 3 here that I can do with that time what I want. If I want to do something else, great, wonderful. If I want to just sit on the couch and read a book, great. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So my schedule, being intentional with my schedule has allowed me to be intentional in the rest of my life.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach. Truly.
Absolutely.
You've changed my life.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.